school. Typically, Leah's at work by the time Shane gets up. But on this morning, he's surprised to find her on the couch.
Leah?
She's barely awake and incoherent.
She's getting slurred speech. Her lips kind of turned blue. The brother even thought maybe she was having some seizure activity.
Huh?
Then, Shane notices an empty box and half-empty bottle of over-the-counter drugs.
He gets her into the car. They beeline it to the emergency room.
But by the time they arrive, Leah seems to be doing a lot better.
She's walking, talking, normal level of consciousness.
She tells the ER doctors she woke up that morning feeling flushed, nauseous, and itchy all over. Figuring it was an allergic reaction, she took some diphenhydramine, an over-the-counter antihistamine. But the itch persisted, so she took more and more.
You know that old adage, if one doesn't do it, let's try 10 more. Well, that's not good with medicine.
Concerned and a bit puzzled, the ER doctors insist on running a few tests.
You know, they obviously took her seriously with the diphenhydramine. You never know exactly how much she took.
As they wait in the ER for the results, Leah appears to be rapidly improving.
She looked like she was doing great.
Until, suddenly, she falls unconscious.
The next thing they know, she starts to seize. She goes into cardiac arrest.
Can I get some help here, please?
The ER staff scrambles to revive her.
I need a defense.
But tragically, they can't.
And she dies. And they have no clue what's wrong with her.
Leah's brother can't believe she's gone, and he desperately needs someone to explain what happened to his big sister. That someone is Dr. G. But like the hospital staff, she faces a perplexing set of circumstances.
There's a lot of considerations in this case. Certainly the one thing I'm worried about is, could she have died from the diphenhydramine overdose, where you actually cause respiratory depression and die? So we'll have to see how that plays a role in her death.
But then, Dr. G finds something even more disturbing in Leah's medical history.
Oh boy.
She had systemic lupus erythematosus, commonly known as lupus.
Systemic lupus is one of the autoimmune diseases. That means basically your body is making antibodies against yourself. So somehow your body, almost just as if you were going to react to a foreign substance in your body starts reacting to your own body.
Many symptoms are benign and occur during active periods known as flare-ups.
It is a common, known entity of that disease that you have flare-ups and then kind of remissions and flare-ups again.
But patients can also develop serious complications like hypertension and heart disease.
Certainly, there's a myriad of things that you can die from with lupus.
Dr. G also notes that between the occasional visits to her specialist, Leah was taking prescription drugs for her lupus. Ironically, that treatment may have posed another threat to her life.
And she's, lo and behold, on some very potent medicine that can have some side effects.
In particular, one of her drugs, prednisone, an immunosuppressant, has been known to cause stomach ulcers. An undiagnosed ulcer may have eroded the lining in her stomach, erupting in a fatal gastrointestinal bleed.
That's a possibility, something I certainly will look for.
But Dr. G doesn't know how any of these possible causes of death could fit with Leah's bizarre set of symptoms.
You always worry when you have these really weird symptomatology that maybe you're not going to get an answer. Let's see. All right.
The first task at hand is for Dr. G to see how severe Leah's lupus was. She begins by checking for the most classic visible signs.
We look for a kind of a discoid rash, patches of red with a scaly kind of surface on it.
But surprisingly, Leah has none of these skin conditions.
She actually looked pretty good, except for during, the resuscitation.
Dr. G then looks closer, searching for other external marks of lupus. Swollen joints, ulcers in the nose and mouth, even hair loss. She finds none.
She has a nice thick head of hair.
The negative findings suggest Leah's lupus was very mild, or at least under complete control.
I don't even have any indication she has lupus, except for the fact we have it in her history, and it appears she's on meds that are consistent with lupus. With modern medicine, most people live for a very long time with lupus. Maybe her lupus has nothing to do with their death.
But if complications from lupus didn't kill this 36-year-old woman in the prime of her life, what did?
Whether you're a professional driver or just a fan, vehicle breakdowns are costly.
It started tugging.
It started making some really weird noises. The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
If your check engine light comes on tomorrow, the repair could easily cost thousands.
Is that transmission?
It's an exhaust leak.
Broken axle.
But with Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a costly repair again.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
I had a seat sensor that went out, $1,400. Endurance paid it.
We got a brand new transmission, and we never seen the repair bill.
Use any certified mechanic you want. Just bring your car in, and Endurance will pay them direct. All major parts are covered.
What I like about Endurance, they don't play games, there's no middleman, they're a solid company.
If I didn't have Endurance, I would have paid over $7,000 out of pocket to repair my vehicle.
Something is going to break down. Make Endurance pay for it.
With Endurance, your car repair costs go way down, while your car's life expectancy goes way up, allowing you to drive more and pay less.
One claim alone saved me more than $4,000.
I've had 5 claims, and that is $3,500 that I've kept in my pocket.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or Endurance?
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, but you have to act now.
Call 1-833-496-5765. That's 1-833-496-5765.
I've been driving a truck all my life. A bear ran across the front of my truck, and I had to avoid him instead of hitting him. I got a good settlement for it and everything, and that helped me to go out and acquire gold and silver. I got the brochure from U.S. Money Reserve, and that's when I decided I can make more money with this than I could have leaving it in the bank. Because if I put 20 grand of paper in there and I had 20 grand of gold, the paper ain't gonna make me any money. I just bought it because it's my insurance policy.
If you'd like to learn more about why physical gold should be an important part of your portfolio, pick up the phone and call to receive the complete guide to buying gold, which will provide you with important, never-seen-before facts you should know about making gold purchases.
U.S. Money Reserve is one of the most dependable gold distributors in America.
We're excited to do business with you, but before we sign, I gotta ask.
Sure, anything.
We searched you online, and maybe you can explain this?
Can't believe that garbage is still coming in. That is so false.
Frustrated with your online search results? Call Reputation Defender today to join tens of thousands who've improved their online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 1-877-866-8555.
Chart, go ahead, but after you do that, I'll do the ribs. Okay.
In the final stroke of the Y incision, Dr. G cuts into Leah Conrad's abdomen. on a hunt for her cause of death. One possibility is that Leah's lupus medication caused severe ulcers, killing her with a gastrointestinal bleed. If so, the GI tract would be filled with hemorrhage. Carefully, she reflects the skin and subcutaneous fat. And with one look, it's clear. Leah had no fatal blood loss whatsoever.
So I'm pretty much ruling out a gastrointestinal hemorrhage.
No signs of lupus, and no signs the medication for it caused her demise. Dr. G must now consider the other drug in Leah's history, the diphenhydramine she took to ease her itchy skin.
It might be an overdose.
Unfortunately, whatever Leah ingested before her death has already been absorbed, and Dr. G will only be able to find out exactly how much diphenhydramine was in her system through toxicology tests. For now, it's time to shift gears.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to take a lot of tissue.
Perhaps a natural disease could explain Leah's symptoms, if not her death. But with every organ she examines, Leah appears as healthy internally as she did externally.
All the organs look pretty good. I don't see anything that'll give me a hint so far.
In the meantime, Leah's brother is waiting for answers as to how his seemingly healthy 36-year-old sister could die so suddenly. But Dr. G is no closer to identifying her cause of death. She now has only one internal organ left to dissect, the heart, and it doesn't look promising.
She's never complained of heart disease. She doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke. She leads a clean, healthy life. So I'm not thinking that it's probably her heart.
She cuts in for a better look. And there, in these cross-sections, Dr. G discovers that Leah's heart is riddled with disease.
She has 80% narrowing of her left main coronary artery. She has 95% narrowing of her left anterior descending coronary artery, the coronary artery that supplies the front of the heart.
In fact, her vessels have been completely overrun by atherosclerotic plaque, layers of cholesterol and other waxy materials that obscure blood flow and often trigger a heart attack. The condition afflicts more than 4.6 million Americans every year and kills one patient every hour. Most are older than 65. But Dr. G believes there's a good reason why Leah had such severe atherosclerosis at almost half that age.
People with lupus have an earlier onset of coronary artery disease, so it looks like maybe she's got just a run-of-the-mill heart attack.
At last, it seems Dr. G has found Leah's cause of death. But then, she detects something very strange.
Oh boy.
Something else that could have killed Leah.
This is separate from the atherosclerosis.
It's on the lining of the arch of the aorta, where the body's biggest blood vessels diverge.
She's got a thrombus attached to the aorta, tightly attached to the wall. 3/4 of an inch in length and about a 1/2 inch in width. It comes out maybe about 1/4 of an inch.
Thrombi, or blood clots, most often form in the body's smaller blood vessels for reasons ranging from trauma to genetics. But Leah's thrombus grew in her aorta, a large central vessel. This is highly unusual, and it could have been deadly if pieces of it traveled to her brain and cut off the flow of blood.
She's had had 2 episodes where people say she has some mental status changes and maybe seizing. It is a possibility she's throwing these little clots that break off and go to the brain.
A minute ago, Dr. G had no possible cause of death. Now, she is one too many.
It is always worrisome when I do an autopsy and I don't find anything. It's also worrisome that I'm not putting it together when I have several things that could kill her. And I have to kind of figure out what really went on.
Unfortunately, none of the theories would explain Leah's strangest symptom.
We've got her pruritus or diffuse itching.
Ultimately, Dr. G finishes the internal exam with a wealth of evidence and nothing that ties it together.
I don't have the smoking gun yet that tells me why she died.
To untangle this perplexing death, Dr. G must now rely on the 2 forensic tools left in her arsenal: toxicology and the microscope.
I'm still worried about the diphenhydramine overdose, so I'll be interested to see what her level is.
Somewhere in Leah's blood and tissue is the key to closure for her grieving brother, if Dr. G can find it.
Most probiotics don't survive digestion. That means whatever you're taking for your gut probably isn't getting where it needs to go. Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic is the 2-in-1 prebiotic and probiotic engineered to survive, bringing live bacteria all the way down to the colon toward a healthy digestive, skin, heart, and immune system. Get started today with Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic. Visit seed.com to order now.
At drivetime.com, we've been hard at work. And we finally did.
Did you make it so I can finally shop at thousands of cars with no hit to my credit?
Wait, yes! Go to drivetime.com, get approved with no credit hit.
Go to drivetime.com, get approved, and shop your real terms with no credit hit.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not even in the doctor's office. I'm standing on the streets talking to real people about their heart. How's your heart?
My heart's pretty good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? You're driving a car, you have the check engine light. But the heart doesn't have a hey, check heart sign. I want to show you something. Put both fingers right on those pads. There you go. In 30 seconds, we're going to have a medical grade EKG reading. There it is. That is you.
Look at that.
With KardioMobile, you can take a medical grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. KardioMobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. And it's the only personal EKG that's FDA cleared to detect normal heart rhythm, bradycardia, and tachycardia.
How much do you think this device costs?
Probably $1,000.
$99. Wow, that's impressive.
Checking your heart anytime, anywhere has never been easier. Don't wait. Get KardioMobile today for just $79 at Kardia.com or Amazon.
Ready to party? I'm talking about Jackpot Party, the leading free-to-play mobile slots game that always gives you more. More Vegas action, more casino favorites, and the latest slots. Play Jackpot Party and win amazing surprises just for logging in. Download Jackpot Party for free and get a 45 million coin bonus. Jackpot Party, a party in every spin.
As you get older, your liver health becomes an increasingly important part of the aging process. We created Dose for your liver to make taking care of your liver easy. Dose is an organic blend of liver-supporting ingredients and is clinically backed to promote healthy liver function so that nothing's holding you back.
Coming up next on True Crime Network.
There's no peanuts. No, my lunch table. All right, I'm gonna run across the street.
A quick bite, and it's time to buckle down with Leah's tissue slides and toxicology report. The numbers tell a disturbing tale.
Her diphenhydramine level was very high. Past even the level that we see where you would take it for a hypnotic to go to sleep.
But surprisingly, the dosage is still far from deadly.
You don't really start getting lethal until you start seeing 7 or 8 milligrams per liter. Hers was closer to maybe a 1 or 2 milligrams per liter. She clearly doesn't have enough that would kill her.
But the high levels do explain the state her brother found her in, lethargic and slurring her speech.
And she really didn't have anything else of significance in her blood. So I think we've ruled out an overdose on this case.
This leaves her with one more shot at deciphering Leah's sudden death.
Really, at this point, can't wait till I look at this under the microscope. What is going on with this woman that would really explain and unify all of her symptoms and my findings?
Dr. G slides the first tissue sample under the lens.
Now, the thing that I was the most fascinated with was why is there a thrombus on her aorta? And so that's where I'm going to.
At 400 times magnification, she can discern the cell structure of the vessel wall. Slowly, she turns the dial. And what comes into focus takes her completely aback.
She's got inflammation like white cells and breakdown products of the white cells all through the aorta.
The invasion has visibly damaged the vessel's delicate tissue.
And the body is reacting to that and putting a clot over it.
This is a sign of vasculitis, a condition in which white blood cells attack and inflame blood vessels all over the body. The affliction is a rare complication of lupus. Externally, Dr. G had found no symptoms of lupus, but clearly Leah's immune system had gone haywire, and her medication was not enough to stop it. Dr. G realizes vasculitis perfectly ties together Leah's symptoms. In the small blood vessels of her skin, the inflammation gave her a vicious itch, and in the large vessels of her heart, the condition actually led to her death.
Her coronary arteries, when you look at them, were completely inflamed. The blood wasn't getting through those vessels enough, and she ultimately has a heart attack. She already had severe atherosclerosis, and this was just the coup de grace.
The extent to which vasculitis assaulted Leah's body stuns Dr. G.
Now, it just so happens in lupus, it tends to occur in the smaller blood vessels. You don't usually see it in the large blood vessels.
Coronary vasculitis in a lupus patient would be extremely rare. Certainly less than 5% of patients, and maybe even less than that.
And Leah's vasculitis is not just in the coronary arteries. It's in the aorta, the biggest blood vessel in her body. In the annals of forensic pathology, Dr. G has made an almost unheard of finding.
Very, very, very rare. It is vanishingly rare.
There's really only just a handful of cases, truly, that are reported that lupus affects your aorta that way.
But for her, it's more than an incredibly rare discovery.
You know, this is probably a 1 in a million for me to see in the morgue. I'm probably never going to see that again. But it's just really, just a really cool part of the job is to put the pieces together and say, boy, I can really explain what was going on with her.
It's 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, and Leah Conrad wakes up to a fierce, unfamiliar itch. Believing it's an allergy, she tries to fight it with diphenhydramine.
10 times more than what you should normally take.
The drug impairs her motor functions.
She got some lethargy, some slurred speech.
Fearing an overdose, her brother rushes her to the hospital. But unbeknownst to him, or the doctors, or even Leah herself, the real threat to her life is neither allergies nor antihistamines.
I think what happened is about 3 to 4 days prior to her hospitalization, she was starting to get a horrible flare-up of her lupus, manifesting itself in just diffuse vasculitis.
In her skin, white blood cells ravage the vessel walls, causing an unbearable itch. And then they make an extraordinary move into Leah's aorta.
She was getting more and more inflammation of her aorta, that the intima or the lining got irritated. The blood tries to repair that by forming a clot on it.
But the vasculitis also strikes in her coronary arteries, which were already narrowed by atherosclerosis. Now severely inflamed, the vessels can no longer carry blood through the heart. Even as the diphenhydramine wears off, the damage reaches a catastrophic peak, and finally, Leah suffers a heart attack.
Can I get some help in here, please?
No amount of medical intervention can save her.
Ultimately, you can boil this whole thing down as complications of systemic lupus erythematosus.
Shane is relieved to finally have an answer, but he's also overwhelmed by the truth behind his sister's bizarre death. He only wishes now that she had seen her doctor more often.
A regular doctor may have picked up that this was a flare-up of her lupus. Maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Okay, that one's done.
Sadly, sometimes no amount of medical care, nor all the love in the world, can save a person's life. Such is the tragic case of Deborah Bruno, a beloved mother whose fight against chronic pain may have driven her to her death.
She's been expressing that she'd like to die for a long time. I'm sure that's very difficult to live with.
At Consumer Cellular, we pride ourselves on getting you the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. But don't worry, we've got a lot more than that going for us. Woo!
Like this beautiful store in Arizona, for example. It's the perfect place for me to tell you a little bit more about our phones and how they can become your phones. You name it, we probably got it. We have the top smartphones from all the major companies. If it's state-of-the-art cameras you want with space-age metal housing, we got them. If you want a smartphone with lots of bells and whistles but won't break the bank, we've got that too. We even have flip phones like the Iris Flip. If you're someone that doesn't need all that mumbo-jumbo and just wants something simple. And now, we even have watches.
We do.
No matter what device you choose, you'll be happy to know that if your data needs change,
No problem.
with our Smart Flex feature, you don't have to sweat it. Like say you're on a road trip out west and end up using a bunch of data. We can simply flex you up to the next data tier for as little as $5. Then, when you get home, you can flex right back down with no penalty, so you only pay for what you actually need.
With Consumer Cellular, you get the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost.
I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have one of these amazing stores in my town yet? Can I get these phones sent to me?
Yes, you can.
Will our award-winning customer service help me switch over or add a line for $15 to make my own family plan?
Of course they will.
Is it easy?
Easy as pie.
You see that tower out there? It's a beauty. And there are thousands more like it, working hard for me and you, supplying 5G coverage to this beautiful nation of ours. We know how important coverage is. That's why we offer a risk-free guarantee. If you're not satisfied within 30 days of activation, you can pay nothing. Oh, look.
And for a limited time, new customers get their second month free. Call 800-311-5340. Find us in Target or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
She knows what she's talking about. Pick up the phone.
As the original host of Wheel of Fortune, I was blessed to be part of building one of the greatest game shows in history. During that time, we handed out millions of dollars to thousands of contestants. I thought, what if we paid the contestants their winnings in gold instead of cash and prizes? Back in 1976, we had a wonderful contestant named Lee, whose 3-day winnings were valued at $12,850. And you know what? That was a pretty big haul back in 1976. So I wondered, what would have happened if Lee had put $12,850 in cash and then put $12,850 in gold in a safe, just sitting there side by side from 1976 until now? We all know that $12,850 in cash would still be sitting there, but it would be worth a whole lot less than it was in 1976. But that $12,850 in gold, safely stored away, it's worth $135,000 as of the taping of this commercial. Now, that's more than 10 times the original amount.
And since the taping of this commercial, the price of gold has increased substantially to more than 15 times the original amount.
And that's why I've been putting my money in precious metals for years, and I don't see any reason to stop now.
If you would like to learn more about why physical gold should be an important part of your portfolio, simply call to receive the complete guide to buying gold, including facts you should know about making any gold, silver, platinum, or palladium purchase. Call now to also receive our new 2024 Global Gold Forecast Special Report. Inside, you'll find the real issues on why you need to start owning gold today. You can also receive a copy of our new report, Protection in the Risk Zone.
With 2 decades of business, over $1 billion in transactions, and more than 500,000 clients worldwide, U.S. Money Reserve is one of the most dependable gold distributors in America.
It's been a long week since my son Alex left for college.
I told you today about Alex calling me last night, right? He is like so excited about school. Really? He's so excited about classes starting and just, just having fun and doing what he wants and, the usual 18-year-old.
I miss him, but I can't complain because in the morgue I see plenty of people whose families will miss them forever.
Could you hand me a shirt, please, and an internal?
We have a 50-year-old white female that was found unresponsive in a residence by her husband.
As she begins to read through the investigator's report, Dr. G is immediately drawn to a devastating automobile accident, one that occurred 30 years earlier and changed Deborah Gruno's life forever.
She went off a cliff and went into the windshield and hit the windshield with her head and caused the initial injury. And then that just escalated over time into degenerative disc disease.
Deborah was lucky to survive, but her life would soon become consumed with a string of surgeries and treatments, all in a seemingly futile attempt to ease her suffering. But incredibly, in light of her constant battle with pain, her sense of humor and free spirit made Deborah the heart and soul of her close-knit family.
Very enthusiastic about life. She had a great sense of humor. She was always cracking jokes, and we always found something to laugh about.
In the name of love.
But no one could have imagined that yesterday evening would be the last time anyone heard Deborah's laugh again. It all begins at around 4 a.m. in the Gruno house. Deborah is having difficulty sleeping and decides to take a shower. Her husband, briefly awakened by the noise, drifts back to sleep in the bedroom down the hall.
And he hears the shower water go off. That's the last he remembers.
A few hours later, he wakes up. From outside the room, he hears a strange wheezing noise.
Just remember thinking that it was the dog snoring. Then I got up and opened the door.
But it isn't the dog.
Right? She was on the floor there, just face down. I lifted her head up to wake her up, and I could tell by the look on her face that it was big trouble.
His wife of almost 25 years is barely breathing. Frantic, Mark calls 911, then immediately begins performing CPR until paramedics arrive. They rush her to the local hospital.
They try to resuscitate her for a good bit of time.
But Deborah remains unresponsive.
They couldn't save her.
Her daughters don't even get a chance to say goodbye.
When I got to the hospital, they took us into the room and they told us that she was gone. I miss everything about her, the way she smelled, the way that she would just make everything better.
I talk to my mom every day. That's probably one of the hardest, that I can't just pick up the phone and call.
But the family's loss is made even worse by the mysterious circumstances surrounding Deborah's death. Now, Dr. G is the only one who can try to provide some sense of closure, but it won't be easy. As she studies Deborah's medical history, she does notice one clear red flag.
She has a history of high blood pressure. She doesn't necessarily take her high blood pressure medicine.
It is estimated that blood pressure-related conditions, such as strokes and heart attacks, kill approximately 300,000 people each year in the U.S. Perhaps Deborah was one of them. But there's another red flag. Deborah's history of degenerative disc disease. This disease can develop after a severe accident, resulting in damage to the discs of the neck and spine.
They can get a lot of pain in the neck. Most people, it's mild to moderate, and with some people, it can be quite severe.
This condition had plagued Deborah since her car accident 30 years ago. Eventually, Deborah turned to medication for relief. But over many years, the dosage she required to feel normal continued to increase. Dr. G knows that any time a decedent is on prescription painkillers, there is a possibility of an accidental overdose. But that's not the only scenario the pills present.
Chronic pain and depression can go hand in hand.
She just didn't want to hurt anymore, and she didn't want to hurt us anymore.
For Dr. G and Deborah's family, her depression presents another fatal scenario, one that her family can't bear to face: suicide.
She talked about taking her life because she just couldn't take the pain anymore.
Is it possible that this mother of two took her own life, leaving her pain and her family behind? The first thing Dr. G notices in the external exam is 3 suspicious marks on Deborah's face.
A small abrasion on her chin and on her upper forehead, and one at her hairline.
The discovery raises an entirely new possibility. Did Deborah simply die from some fatal injury?
Attention former Marines and family members stationed to Camp Lejeune. If you lived or worked at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, for at least 30 days from August 1953 to December 1987 and have been diagnosed with cancer, neurobehavioral effects, had a child born with birth defects, or been diagnosed with fertility issues or more, significant compensation may be available. Call Legal Injury Advocates now to discuss your case. It has been proven that the water at Camp Lejeune during those years was extremely contaminated with toxic chemicals. Legal Injury Advocates has extensive experience helping you to get the maximum compensation you deserve. Don't wait until it's too late. See if you qualify today. You're not alone in this fight, and there are no upfront costs to begin your journey to justice. The call is completely free, and we're available 24 hours a day. Call Legal Injury Advocates to discuss your case now.
Call 1-800-239-0808 or visit www.lia.legal. That's 1-800-239-0808. Call now.
It's our biggest sale of the year. Shop all your favorite classics, like our super comfy waffle collection and our best-selling cold weather leggings at the best prices ever. From extra warm polar fleece jackets and our famous go-to sweats, we have what you need to stay warm all winter long. Go to fabletics.com to get 70% off every single thing.
Dental insurance. Many employers don't offer it. Medicare doesn't include it. And people who work for themselves often don't consider it. But with Humana, you can still have it, starting at just $18 a month. That's about 60 cents a day. With a Humana dental plan, you'll get 100% coverage for in-network preventive care, such as oral exams, cleanings, and x-rays. Plus, you could save on fillings, crowns, and other dental procedures. How much could you save? There's a quick, easy way to find out. Call Humana now at the number on your screen. A licensed Humana agent will explain your coverage options and give you a free quote. You can choose from a large network with over 100,000 dentists and specialists nationwide. And you can have coverage in as little as 5 days. There are no age requirements, and you can't be turned down. There are a variety of plans to fit the whole family's needs and budget, plus plans designed exclusively for veterans and their families. Humana even has vision plans too, with coverage for exams, eyeglasses, and more. So whether you're looking for a dental plan, a vision plan, or both, call Humana now at the number on your screen. A licensed agent will explain your coverage options and give you a free quote. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation. Call now and discover the coverage you need at a price that'll make you smile. From Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
The windows come down. The shoes go off. Sleeves go up. The coast is there with open arms. Leave it all behind and settle in. Lead 'em along.
When someone dies unexpectedly, only an autopsy will expose the truth.
I need to look to see if there's evidence of a struggle. We're going to have to open him up to really see what the injuries are.
Dr. G, Medical Examiner, next on True Crime Network.
I think it's just that left hand, isn't it?
Dr. G catalogs 13 scrapes and contusions as she continues the external exam on Deborah Bruno's body.
She certainly has a lot of bruises on her.
Deborah, a 50-year-old mother of two, died suddenly yesterday. Based on her history of taking large doses of medication for neck pain, Dr. G now speculates as to how she may have gotten all those bruises.
Probably consistent with her falling.
If the pain medication had begun to impair Deborah's motor functions, she may have fallen and suffered a fatal internal injury.
Maybe she fell and hit her head. And then she gets a subdural or she gets bleeding.
If she can prove Deborah died from an injury and not suicide, her findings could provide tremendous relief.
Keep your fingers crossed. We got the head.
First, Dr. G pulls back the scalp, then carefully takes off the calvaria, or the roof of the skull.
I'm looking for anything unusual in her brain.
So far, the organ looks normal. Carefully, she extracts it for a closer look.
I slice it, and I don't see any evidence of hemorrhage, any trauma.